All right, guys, it's time for week one of your ACC matchups. We got Thursdays now kicking off in an hour or so for what will be a very exciting 2023 season. What are the marquee matchups? Who's playing for pride? And let's get a little update on those realignment talks.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. Each and every day, you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure you download, subscribe to the pod. And, if you feel inclined to see our lovely faces, hit us up on YouTube. We got 1,000 followers, but, 3,000, 10,000, maybe 100,000 would just do. Talking today about our week one matchups of ACC College Football. It is exciting time for some marquee matchups that we have here in the conference. A little play for pride, get a little our whistle wet when it comes to others, and then some realignment for ACC conference news. Kenton, what's up?
Not much. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk these matchups. I think it's a little early to deem teams as playing for pride. We'll get into it.
Wedding whistles is. I thought it was the wedding whistles. The play for pride.
That was hilarious. Wedding whistles part was what got me for reasons I can't talk about on air, or else we lose our clean rating. So let's just keep it on rolling.
The FCC won't let you be. All right. Let's talk about Thursday night games that's happening in about an hour or so, 30 minutes, if you will. We've got some pretty good, I would say, not even playing for, when you say play for pride, I mean just like, all right, college football is back. We're excited for that bad boy and all the things. We got some marquee matchups as well that we want to discuss, but let's get right into the nitty gritty Thursday night play for pride games. Elon and Wake Forest. I know it's bothering you, but I don't know why.
Stop calling them play for pride.
What would you like to call them?
There's a connotation on play for pride that like playing for pride is like saying you're cute for a insert thing that you are here. If somebody told me you're handsome for a bald guy, I'm offended by that. I'm not like, oh, this person just called me handsome. I'm like, excuse me, you didn't need the qualifier. You could have just stopped at you're handsome. These teams are playing in the beginning of the season. That play for pride is at the end of the season when the records don't matter. You're not getting into a bowl game. There's no conference implications. You're simply playing just because, hey, you're proud of your team and somebody got to go out there and win it.
So here's the thing, everybody who's watching live, who's watching at home, who's listening, in fact, Kenton and I, we're pretty good at what we do. So we don't need like too much time together to get things going. We have all the things, but we do have pre-production meetings, right? We talk about what we're going to talk about for the day. We align. We have a whole schedule of what we're going to do for the season written out. Yeah. We talked about marquee matchups playing for pride. I have it here, as you see, if you're watching on YouTube, our background for the day. So if Kenton didn't feel like he wanted to talk about play for pride games, it's crazy to me how he didn't utter a mumbling word during the pre-production meeting. He talked about everything but Aunt Jemima and her friends. He talked about Pookie and them, but play for pride is where he just somehow didn't get the memo. And normally I'm bad about getting our background done in ample time. And yet it was there early, ready to go. And somehow, some way, he still was incapable of mentioning that. And now he wants to have a little toot in front of the company. That's okay, though. Go ahead. Have your little moment. Go ahead.
I didn't think it was going to be a linchpin of the deal. I didn't think it was going to be a linchpin. I didn't pay
attention
to the background. I didn't pay attention to the background
until you started
talking about it.
Tell the truth, say the devil, admit your faults first.
I admit that. I admit that I did not pay attention to the background. And also, I didn't think it was going to be a linchpin because I thought that we were talking off air about teams we didn't believe had a shot to win the conference or to make noise in the conference. So,
that's crazy because we talked about none of that. None of that in our pre-production meeting today.
Oh, Lord. Oh, boy.
We did. Okay. You know what?
Do swimmers get CTE? Let's look that up. Let's Google it because
I have probably ingested my fair share of chlorine that probably has had the screws a little loose. I will say that. I will admit that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But I was not hand in the dirt taking car crashes for 18 plus years. So who really is off their kilter?
It was 17 and a half. So I'll have you know that. And also,
Do you want a cookie or a small parade?
I admit regularly that it could be. This could very well.
Your ADHD or whatever you feel like you got going on is acting unruly.
I do not have ADHD. I do not have that. I am 1,000% sure.
All right, we can talk about that offline.
Anywho.
Either way it goes, we've had 5 minutes wasted because you want to be disrespectful once again to the work that I put in to make sure that we're ready to go for our backgrounds.
No,
so,
I'm disrespecting.
We're going to talk about the Thursday matchups, and I'm going to say we're playing for excitement. What would you like to call it? Please tell me tell me what you would rather say.
The early season tempo setters. These are early season tempo. This is going to tell us.
Now, if you wanted to call them tempo setters, you could have said that in pre-production. Now we over here looking crazy in front of company. I don't like it. Tempo setting game number 1, Elon and Wake Forest at 7 p.m. We got to talk about it because the game about to start. You over here playing Wake Forest and Elon on the ACC network, which we're going to give a little compliment because someone told us that we should be up there. So, shout out to them. Shout out to them. Okay. ACC Network is going to feature Elon and Wake Forest. The Demon Deacons are coming out here. They're looking for doing the damn thing. Let's get Mitch Griffiths and the boys going.
Yeah.
Feeling excited about wanting to see, again, I said, this defense is where I want to see some improvements.
Yeah, I think that's where everybody wants to see. But honestly, I don't think that you'll get to see whether or not they are improved against the Elon team. With all due respect, Elon is not of the caliber.
Wake Forest defense we're talking about.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. Elon is not a team of the caliber to see whether or not Wake Forest defense has truly improved. Like, with all due respect, you don't learn if you were taking cooking class and say, "Can I cook better?" You wouldn't learn that by making breakfast foods. Like, that's just the reality.
Some people struggle with French toast now. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
If you struggle with French toast, get out the kitchen. And don't go back. Don't go back. Somebody in my family told me they didn't know how to make grits. I said, get out the kitchen.
Grits can be difficult if you don't know how to do your stir right. I mean, I'm talking about for the basics.
It's literally just stir. It's literally put the water in, let it get to a boil, put the grits in, put the cheese in, put the butter in, and stir. That's it. That's all you got. If that's too complicated for you. But see, and this is the perfect analogy for Wake Forest. If they struggle defensively against Elon, that 15-game streak is over. That streak of winning 15 in every 2-year block is over with because they're in.
They can still win 15, but it's gonna be like 3 in a month.
Well, if they can't win, this is the second year, so they have to win. Last year they won 8, so this year they have to win exactly 7 to get to their 15. Okay. So if they struggle defensively against Elon, yeah, we can go ahead and throw that out the window. They're not going to get to 7 this year.
North Carolina State and UConn. Okay, UConn's not a slouch team. Yeah. Tempo check, temperature check. What would you describe this game, Kenton?
Yeah, I agree. It's another tempo setter. Now, this is a game where you actually will get to see teams that are not quite on the same level, but teams that are closer to the same level because UConn is returning a lot of experience in their defensive backfield, and NC State's weakness is said to be their running game. So now you got strength on strength. You've got to pass the ball. Brennan Armstrong has to be accurate. He has to be good in order for this offense to do something against the defense that at times last year looked phenomenal. They held Boston College, an ACC opponent, to 3 points last year. So this is a UConn team that never lost a game as bad as they did to NC State for the rest of the season. Their only larger loss was to the University of Michigan, who made the playoffs the game before NC State, I believe. So this is a team that got better and better and better throughout the season. I don't have a lot of faith in Fagnano and whatnot as their starting quarterback over there. So with that being said, I'm really expecting NC State to come out and win a defensive battle if Brennan Armstrong can't get it going.
Set the tone game, if you will. Okay. I pick up what you're putting down. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Go to LinkedIn Jobs right now, linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnCollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. NC State covers 14.5, they say.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling that. Okay.
It started at 17, and that line just kept dropping and dropping and dropping until it got down to about, I want to say 13.5 or 14, and I was up to 14.5. So,
Well, there's that. Another tempo starting game here. Miami, Ohio versus Miami, which will be on Friday at 7 p.m. on the ACC Network. ACC Network getting it going. Okay.
Yeah.
The Hurricanes. Yeah. Hurricane Chris. Let's get it going.
I think this is another game where, Miami should outclass Miami of Ohio. You know what I mean? The U should outclass Miami of Ohio.
Should. Strong on should.
Absolutely. All of these games are strong on should because we're all speculating based off what we saw last season.
This is more of like a set the tone, not play for pride, set the tone.
Yeah. These games are, that's what these games are. They're going to set the tone. They're setting the foundation for what this season will be for these teams. I highly doubt that a team struggles mightily or let me not say that, because it is possible for a team to struggle mightily this week and then go on to have a great season. But for some of these teams, with some of the competition that they have, I doubt it, especially if we see certain struggles. So for Miami, for example, the Hurricanes going up against the Red Hawks, I believe it is, the biggest thing that you want to see is everybody rowing the boat in the same direction. You want to see this team. Obviously, you don't want to see them have any adversity, but if there is some adversity, if there is a big play that the Red Hawks hit, are there pointing fingers? Are there this defeated look? Is there this bad body language thing, or is it guys lifting each other up saying, hey, it's all right, there's one play, they got to do it again, we'll go get them next time, all that type of stuff. So there is most of these games in week one have that feeling of you need to dominate, you need to do so early and often, and that just should be the thing. And that's no different for this Miami, Ohio, University of Miami game.
Minus 15.5.
Yeah, I think they cover. I think
you're not giving enough credit to Miami of Ohio, but maybe I'm tripping.
I mean, listen, I like the Gabbert's little brother. I think that he can sling that thing around the yard and all that. However, it's a big on big situation. Miami has two of the best safeties. I think that their safety in Cam Kitchens and I want to say Williams is the other safety. He's about 6'3", 6'4", rangy. He knows where the ball's going to be. Those two up against any passing game that doesn't have receivers in the stable that can go up and win a jump ball, win a 50-50 ball, take a hit from Kitchens and still retain it, you're going to have a hard time. You're going to have a real hard time.
I feel that. All right, let's get to our next Friday matchup. We have, to me, the first marquee matchup of the ACC, Louisville and Georgia Tech. Louisville, a team that I very much, jury's out for me. Man, not going to hold you. Plummer and the boys don't know what we're going to get. Yeah. Coach Brown, everyone's excited about, but it's just so many questions I have, a lot to replace on defense. And you got a Georgia Tech team that you are crazy if you're not excited about them.
So here's the deal. We both agree on how we feel about these teams. However, the rest of the country seems to be against us, okay? So somebody's going to be victory lapping after this game. It'll either be us or it'll be the nation, okay?
The Aflac kickoff game.
And I'm telling you right now, I think even the Duck is going to chime in and get a lick in if Louisville flatly dominates this game. But
are we going to look like quacks?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. They'll tell us put down the quack if Louisville dominates in this game, like many people believes they will. I honestly and truly, I think that this is the beginning of Georgia Tech opening some people's eyes in terms of who they are. I know everybody's big on quarterback play, but again, if you could tell me that you trust Louisville's quarterback play 1,000%, then I'd be with you. If Malik Cunningham was back in that backfield, I'd be with you. If Lamar Jackson was back in that backfield, I'd be with you. I'm not sure at this point that I can say in this game, I can guarantee you they'll have the better quarterback. I don't feel that way. And so I think this is a close game. I could see it going either way, but I'd give an edge to Georgia Tech.
I mean, they're saying a touchdown and a half even. Like, it's going to come to be a nail biter.
All right. Listen, I hear you knocking. But
I got to see what that special team talking about, because it might come down to a kick if we really going to keep it a band.
We got to see.
And ain't they playing in Atlanta?
They surely are.
And that's crazy. Y'all really going to go against Georgia Tech playing in Atlanta?
You know, it's because Georgia Tech they don't carry the Atlanta market per se. Atlanta is a transit town anyway, and they don't really carry it. So
they're trying. I mean, they're trying to bring that 404 back.
It's at the end of the day, if you're good, you'll carry a market. I've talked about this. TCU, have they ever carried Dallas? And then all of a sudden, when they got good last year,
they were in Dallas.
Fort Worth. They're in Fort Worth. So when they got good last year, what happened? Oh, all of Dallas is behind them. Everybody's behind TCU. It's the same thing with Georgia Tech. When they had Reggie Ball and Calvin Johnson and company, all of a sudden, everybody was like, oh, yeah, we're behind Georgia Tech. Yeah, we got to be there. It's the same deal. When you're good, the fans come. When you're not, it's a little dicey in some of these big markets.
Sure. All right, let's talk about Saturday matchups. Another not play for pride, set the tone, do what they got to do. Whatever you want. 12 o'clock noon, we're kicking off with Virginia and Tennessee.
Protect yourself, Virginia. Protect yourself. Keep your hands up at all times, or the ref gonna stop the fight.
That boy Milton, he ain't nothing to play with.
I'm gonna tell you this. Okay. Tony Elliott has a lot of faith in Tony Muskett, and we're gonna need Tony to do it again, because this is gonna be a I struggle. But I will say this. Here is where Virginia has an opportunity. Their defensive line was a strength of that team last season at times. And they're returning one of the top pass rushers in the conference. And so if you can get Joe Milton off that spot and make him uncomfortable, we've seen in the past that Joe Milton's decision-making at times, I mean, the Mustard game where he ran out of bounds to end the game, we've seen it. Joe Milton is not always.
How are you gonna make him relive? Come on now.
I mean, with all due respect, I'm trying to help out Virginia, okay? This is an ACC show.
You're right. Chris Gordy is not coming walking through that door.
Exactly. So Jimmy P is paying us apparently. So with that being said, if you can make Joe Milton have to get off that spot, if you can stop the run and put them in predictable passing situations, Virginia could stick around in this thing much longer and much better than people anticipate they will.
Northern Illinois and Boston College seems like a set the tone game for me. I feel like, listen, -8.5. I would take that bet.
Here's the
Northern Illinois, not good.
Northern Illinois is not good, but their strength is in that defensive line, and Boston College is in their offensive line apparently now. And so you're asking yourself, is this going to be a big on big, strength on strength situation? Is Boston College what everybody or what they believe they are in terms of having all their offensive linemen back? I will say this. I think Boston College wins. Not exactly sure if they cover. I agree.
Did they get 8.5 points? No.
I agree. that Northern Illinois is not good. I'm not going to lie to you there.
Yeah.
Or they were not good last year, but I don't know. It's a tough call for me to say I can see Boston College putting this one away fairly easily.
Next set the tone matchup, Wofford and Pitt. Pitt being a team that sneakily could win the ACC. Not worried about this Wofford matchup, but maybe what are some things we want to see from Pitt out the gate?
Yeah, I think from Pitt you want to see, I mean, it's a similar situation to what you want to see out of Miami's offense in game one. Can they push the ball down the field effectively? And I'm not talking about the short game. I'm not talking about being on time and precise. Everybody's saying that the offenses are going to be opened up and the floodgates are going to open vertically. Okay, this is the time. The windows to pass the ball will probably not be as big for any other game as they will be for this one.
That's true. Don't open up the playbook too much yet, but I agree. I want to see something from Phil. I want to see the strength of Phil, making sure that it wasn't a fluke over at Boston College. Like he genuinely just had a bad line and all the things. It's bad when they don't even have a line for a game because they just know it's going to be a butt whooping.
Yeah. That's that was the one that I believe Locked On ACC fans gave the highest percent win chance to the ACC team. I want to say it was 96 or 97%. Something.
Colgate and Syracuse also doesn't have a line.
Yeah,
I feel like Syracuse. This is good. This is a good welcome back to football game.
Yeah. They say that 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Colgate. Well, Syracuse is going to be the 5th dentist this Saturday. It's not going to be a pretty sight for Colgate. With all due respect, I think that Garrett Schrader, again, for all the things around him, that Schrader to Gaston the second connection, I think is going to do some special things this year. And if they could find just a few guys offensively to come along with him, that defense, we know with the mob, as they call themselves, we know the mob is going to be at least middle of the pack, if not better, as they have historically been in this conference. And so that now falls to the offense to get things done. And again, your signal caller, most important position in football, Schrader, you got that locked up. You've got a great pass catcher in Gaston. Who else is going to help out? Because if you start bracketing Gaston and nobody else can get open, nobody can pitch a drop, there's a problem there.
And I also think that, how do you replace a Sean Tucker, right? How do you replace that production is going to be a huge question for them. 2 more games here for Saturday. We're talking through our week 1 matchups. They're not play for prides. This marquee matchups and set the tones, because if you listen to the first 5 minutes of the show, Kenton was cutting up and he didn't do well in pre-production. North Carolina, South Carolina, marquee matchup. Here's why. I got to see something from that defense. Mm-hmm. We all know Drake May is going to be Drake May. I think it's going to be a little shaky. It's still first game of the season. It's a different atmosphere. It's going to be in Charlotte, sort of a neutral site, all the bells and whistles, blah, 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 blah. We know he does pretty well when the lights are on. How does he do against a solid defense? There are a few questions around that. But then when you talk about that defense, can they step up to a team that upset Clemson last year? And when they looked at Clemson versus North Carolina last season, didn't even come close.
Yeah, so I think that there are 2 things to be said here. First of all, South Carolina, SEC team. You normally think about SEC teams being just big and fast. That defensive line for South Carolina is very light. They had multiple guys transfer out. They had multiple guys from last year graduate who were impact players and whatnot. Drake May going to put on the show, I believe, at least. With that being said, even, with the whole Tez Walker situation, him not being eligible, he's going to find enough folks. He's going to have time back there to find enough folks to make that happen. But the next thing that you will want to say is, like you said, how does the defense look? Somebody's going to have to get a stop. Whatever the under-over is in this game, hammer the over.
Minus 2.5, yeah.
Hammer that under-over. I'm telling you right now, what's the under-over for this game?
Now you're doing too much.
Okay, well, whatever the under-over is, if it is lower, listen to me now. If the under-over is lower than 60 points, hammer it. Hammer with everything you got. Put the house on it. I'm joking. Don't put your house on anything. I'm joking. But there's going to be a very serious thing there in terms of that offense. Mm-hmm. You look at Drake May and talk about the wonder guy that he is. You look at Spencer Rattler and how special he is when he's hot. You look at Kerryon Joyner as well from South Carolina, who can absolutely do it. We saw it last year when he was in multiple different positions, quarterback, running back, receiver, doesn't matter. He can get it done as well for South Carolina. You're looking at a situation where I don't think that either one of these defenses stand that much of a chance of getting a bunch of stops. So it'll come down to 2 things. Who takes care of the ball best and who has the ball last. Those are the things I think it will come down to.
Sure. John posed a really good question. Does Rattler have many reliable targets this year? Big question to me. Big question to us all, John.
I mean,
I think he has enough.
Here's the thing. Spencer Rattler is losing some production from last year, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the drop off between the crew from last year and the crew this year is that intense to where I can comfortably say North Carolina's defense will dominate. I don't feel comfortable. I
just don't think you were going to say that about North Carolina defense at all. Dominate is just would never be in your vocabulary.
If they and Pitt switch week 1 opponents, if they were playing Wofford and you asked me, Ken, how would the defense look? I'll say they're going to dominate Wofford in that triple option. They'll dominate it. No problem.
So I would argue that this might be a play for pride game because North Carolina versus South Carolina, who's the real Carolina? I don't know. I mean, we gonna get my production words in here because I worked hard. Okay.
There could be that argument, but also North Carolina is not the best team in the state of North Carolina. So you can't really, you know what I mean?
Who is the best team in North Carolina?
Who did they lose to in the state of North Carolina last year.
And that's why your Wi-Fi messed up, because God don't like ugly. Old
It's been
Dominion
about
and
1,000
Virginia
days
Tech.
since they beat NC State.
Old Dominion and Virginia Tech, because I ain't got time for you today. Play for pride again. Old Dominion and Virginia Tech. Come on, because I ain't got time for you today. I'm not doing a 45-minute show with you because you won't play around. ODU and Virginia Tech. ODU and Virginia Tech.
I got you. ODU has lost a significant amount of impact players to the portal. And one of those players will be walking in the stadium in a Virginia Tech jersey in Ali Jennings. That's the reality, okay? Poogie Kennedy, another one of them, is playing for NC State now, and he's a starter. ODU does not have any horses left in that stable, with all due respect. That team, if Virginia Tech lets this game stay close, they ought to be ashamed of themselves, because you would think, oh, ODU upset Virginia Tech last year. That must mean they went on to have one of the better seasons in the group of five. And wrong answer, forehead. They instead ended up having a season where I believe they went 4-8 or 5-7. Like, what is that? What is that?
What? You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
You remember that? You remember that Proud Family episode? You remember that? Wrong answer, forehead. No, okay.
You ought to be ashamed.
The facts of the matter are simple.
Yes.
ODU is a team that was not very good last year. And yes, they pulled off an upset against Virginia Tech last year. However, they're even more devoid of talent, losing stars on that team because they had multiple players who were bona fide ballers. But
Grant Wells is a star. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. There's that. Let's talk about our Sunday matchup. The one that everyone is most excited about. LSU, Florida State. The biggest matchup here for the ACC. Argue with your granny. Mm-hmm. Florida State got to come with it, baby. And I mean with it. Yeah. Hardest hitting. Jared Verse and the boys. Johnny Wilson on that offense. Jordan Travis, do your thing. Help us, Father. Hold it down for the set. POP. Hold me down.
So we talked about games that would have conference implications, right? Like a Louisville, Georgia Tech. This game, whole nother level.
Yeah.
This is national implication. You're looking at a situation where this could be Jordan Travis or Jaden Daniels' Heisman moment. Somebody could have a Heisman moment in this game. And watch this. Let's get real crazy. This could be Jared Verse's Heisman moment. I wish I could say this would be Mason Smith's Heisman moment, but he'll be standing on the sideline next to Coach Kelly. So,
I told you they're going to put him in another uniform and have him out there.
Mason Smith is big as a house. You ain't going to miss that boy. You are not going to miss that boy if he put on another jersey. So, with that being said, I really and truly do think that Florida State should be, thanking their lucky stars that Mason Smith is suspended. But in all seriousness, this is a moment here that, like you said, big time. The game of the
tone.
Week.
This is how we're coming. We coming with it. We saw Jared Verse talk to ACC Network about his energies. Like, we want to make sure people know that we're here. We're ready to go. Prove all doubters wrong. All the things, all the, bells and whistles.
Exactly. And in the words of James Brown, LSU going to be looking for the big payback for last year's loss. That was a last-second loss on an extra point?
Very fluky loss. Yes.
And then on top of that, if you're looking at LSU's offensive line, this was the game where Jared Verse made all of his money. This was the game that put Jared Verse on the map. People were talking about, he should be good. And then after LSU, all of a sudden, it was like,
that's a bad man.
A monster. He's a different
bad man.
Exactly. He's a different breed. And so with that in mind, there are multiple angles of, folks looking for revenge all summer 16 right here. That's what's going on. And so it's going to be a really, really interesting game to see in terms of who gets it done, who comes out on top here. I think it'll be some entertaining football. And like I said, I do predict that somebody will have a Heisman moment here. Now, who has their Heisman moment? I don't know, but somebody will, and that player will likely be in New York.
Okay, I love to see that. Last ACC marquee matchup that I feel like is going to be very exciting. Duke and Clemson on Monday at 8 p.m. Clemson, of course, is mad. They got to walk to the locker room, but they're going to be all right. The only little bit of fuel that Dabo needs to get those boys going. Set the tone, Clemson. Let us know what's up. Duke, defend home court. Kenton will be there, ready to go.
Enjoying the free food that the media gets.
I know that's right.
Boy, Dabo sure can't complain, can he? He can play with the best of them.
Him and Mac Brown right there.
I love
There.
I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna tell you this. It's unfortunate that it shook out this way for Duke. But this is going to be a game in which people are like, see, we told you coming over to no divisions and y'all having to play their real schedule. This is what it's going to be. But it's not really fair because this is a team that, they've been to multiple national championships. This is a team that has been carrying the flag for the ACC for basically the past decade, more or less. It's not really fair that that's going to be what's said about this game, but that's what will be said. So with that being said,
I'm about to say, boy, if they get upset.
With that being said, if Dwayne Carter and that defense, and if they show up and they shut down a offense led by a man with the last name Riley, they will eat like kings in the city of Durham forever. You understand?
Forever.
You understand?
They will be in Blue Devil Tower eating like they ain't never ate before.
Listen, the boosters will be boosting.
And they boost at Duke, the private university. Okay.
The boosters will be boosting.
You got a job straight out. Okay.
Hello. Wall Street? Boy, come on, man. You got that. Whatever job you want. Let's go. Let's do
Interview, please. What? Resume where? Please.
You're thinking too small. You need to think big. Let's get you in the White House.
Venture capitalist type energy. That's all I'm saying. With that, they're playing for jobs. And I don't mean the ones in the NFL. But we can talk about it.
So with that being said, I think that Elko did a hell of a job last year, a hell of a job. This here is a very tall order, one of the tallest orders that we have seen in some time in terms of the ACC for first game, especially in the conference list or the division list, ACC rather. Mm-hmm. I don't think that they pull it off, but I do think that they keep it closer than everybody believes because everybody thinks that Garrett Riley is what his big brother is, and I'm not sure. Sonny Dykes has never had a bad offense. Nobody's ever accused Sonny Dykes of not being able to put up points. Yeah. Now, getting a stop, that's been the question for all of Sonny Dykes' teams, but scoring, I mean,
I feel it. Listen, at the end of the day, I think for Duke, it's just about, keeping the main thing, try and contain as much as you can contain, not letting Riley Leonard get rattled with that defense because we all know they're coming and they're going to bring the house every single time. So as long as you stay composed, I think that they'll put up good stuff. I think John made a good point. Duke wasn't taken very seriously last year. You can't play about Duke this year. They're coming. You have to prepare for Duke. Before Absolutely. It was like, yes, you prepare and do all the things. And I don't think guys showed up in the same way. But now you cannot take them as a joke. So
teams were seeing Duke on their schedule last year, and they were penciling in a W. And
Absolutely.
They said, wait a minute, what the W, what didn't mean whooping? What happened? They're
walking
out of our stadium with a win. So
Duke is fighting back now. So
I do think more teams will be alert to them, but I also think this is a good Duke team. They are physical, they are good on both sides of the ball up front. And when you combine that with good quarterback play, again, if Mateo Durant was born 3 years later, this team would be a national championship.
Oh, my God, Mateo.
We love some Mateo Durant now. That boy was doing everything.
He did everything to put that team on his back, literally.
If it wasn't for him, Cutcliffe would have got retired about 2, 3, 4 years ago. But anyway, the reality is very simple. Mm-hmm. This is going to be a game that maybe rightfully so, maybe not, will be seen as a measuring stick game for both of these teams. How good is Garrett Riley? How good is Cade Klubnik after going through an entire offseason as QB1? How good is Duke? And do they have the horses in the stable in terms of talent to compete in the ACC at a high level when everybody believes that they're good? These are many questions that we'll see answered, or at least that we think we'll have an answer to after week 1.
All right, let's land this plane. ACC realignment bullet point. Let me tell you, there's no bullet because they said they're meeting. We know the ACC presidents are supposed to be meeting. They're supposed to be called to a vote tomorrow. We don't know if that means anything for Cal, SMU, or Stanford, but boy, would I love to get this thing over with. I just want 5 days of football. Don't really want to talk about realignment news. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, better. Like, I'm so over it. I just cannot eat.
Well, they were supposed to already have the meeting, but of course things outside of sports,
1,000%. But I'm ready. I'm over it.
Listen, I understand. I too am one of those people. If you're gonna do something, get it over with. If you're gonna do something, in the words of Future, go on and redacted, get it over with. That is a moment that we're looking at here.
But I do want in our last 60 seconds just to give a little bit of shout to our friends. I couldn't find the word. Help me, Jesus. Base Jiren, you know what? The best team in North Carolina is whoever's playing on the UNC on the road. All right. With that defense, no thank you. Louisville is overrated, according to Dog 18. I ain't mad. Slam Tana, don't fight him, but I ain't mad.
Listen, all I'm saying is we got AR Sheriff in here saying Louisville by 40 over Tech. My brother in Christ, I bet my unborn first child that they do not win that game by 40.
I don't think they're going to win the game, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeesh.
ACC Championship Canes. Now, Bama Cane, now you know full well. Miami is allergic to winning the ACC. CD, you got that right now.
I mean, hey, I'll tell you this: their ceiling is an ACC championship, but you know
they're supposed to have been won an ACC championship. Like, come to the table when you are even in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Miami, they have the talent. It has always been: do they have the coaching? Do they have the culture? And those, to me, are two things that you can correct more easily than most things. However, I don't see how after one off season to turning over half your scholarship players. A little tough.
Ooh, come to the table when UNC winning anything, baby. We was in the ACC championship last season. Don't play with us. See, that's why we gotta go. We gotta wrap this up.
Ain't lying. Yeah,
and you know, like you get Ken riled up, and that's how we. Let's just play the game. We'll be back here for our updates, our recaps, and we'll talk through those things. We'll have some quick hits tomorrow, talk about Thursday's games, but we hope you guys really do enjoy the weekend full of college football. Like 5 days of straight football, chef's kiss. You know what I mean? If you leave your couch, just make sure you do a lap, keep the blood flowing, those sorts of things.
We are so back, baby. College football is back. Time to go ahead and enjoy ignoring all the outside world because there is going to be college football again.
Let's get it, ACC, please, Lord. I mean, everyone just wants to doubt us and feel like we're not a good conference, but hey, we still standing, baby, 10 toes.
UNC and Florida State, we looking at y'all. We looking at both of y'all.
POP, hold it down.
Y'all are two of the ones that want more money. Yeah, because they're two of the ones that want more money.
Clemson wants more money.
But Clemson is playing another ACC team. So even if they lose to an ACC team. That doesn't mean the ACC is worse because Clemson loses. If Florida State gets their teeth kicked in, that makes the ACC look bad.
That's fair.
UNC gets their teeth kicked in. I don't want to get no closer to the camera. Okay. I don't want to get no closer to the camera, but you get the point. So y'all too, hold it down. Make us look good.
Period. For Candace Hoover and Kenton Gibbs, we hope you guys have a great and safe weekend. Until next time.